Hello there. Would you like to talk about J.M. Coetzee and his novel The Life and Times of Michael K., which was published in 1983 and was the winner of the Booker Award in 1983? Where were you in 1983? The Life and Times of Michael K. is a tricky book. There is a man, he's born, he has a hair lip. Unlucky beginnings. His mother doesn't like to look at that hair lip and she sends him off to a boarding school. We get a sense that it was pretty unpleasant for this poor little boy with the hair lip, with all the other boys staring at him and his deformity. He's simple-minded, he is unintelligent, he's slow, he's dim, and he gets a job as a gardener until his mother feels that she is dying and she wants to go back to the village where she was born and she grew up. They live in Cape Town, South Africa. But there is a civil war raging in South Africa, which I have to embarrassingly admit, I did not know there was a civil war in South Africa, ever. I wasn't surprised to discover that there was, considering that war seems to be a perpetual state of existence in Africa, but it is such an enormous place that perhaps that is not difficult to imagine. They are not allowed to travel, but she's dying and she insists. So he builds a kind of like a little, I don't know, like a small rickshaw. He builds it and he tries to transport her quite a long distance to get to this village where she grew up. She dies along the way. Her boy, Michael K., often is starving. He doesn't have enough to eat. He spends some time in the hospital where they eventually give him his mother's ashes. And they take a bit of pity on him. They give him some clothes because they see that he's not really right in the head. So he takes his mother's ashes and he continues to go to this village where she grew up. A series of misadventures follows. The main thing in the novel is that in his state of mental awareness, he needs to keep himself alive, but the more malnourished he becomes, the less he seems to need. I really don't have the words to describe how I feel about this scene. There is an episode in the novel, this very short novel, where he finds some pumpkin seeds and he plants them and he grows them. The scene where he eats the first pumpkin that he has grown himself and he cooks it over a little fire. This is the most delicious pumpkin that I have planted in the earth, and it has grown, and it has grown delicious from the water and from the soil, and now I get to eat it. And it becomes rather philosophical. How much does a creature need, a human being need, to stay alive? Is that all we need, is a pumpkin now and then? There are quite a lot of awful bits as well. He's put into a labor camp, but they all kind of look at him because he's pretty much a walking skeleton for most of the story. They're like, well, this man can't work, look at him. And they try to feed him, but he doesn't even want to be fed. He's tasted this pumpkin that he grew, and now he doesn't want any of the regular city people food. Yeah, that's the novel. J.M. Coetzee was born in Cape Town, South Africa in 1940 and educated in South Africa. And I've always thought this was the most curious note in Coetzee's biography. And the United States as a computer scientist and linguist. His first work of fiction was Dusklands. This was followed by In the Heart of the Country, which won the premier South African Literary Award, and the CNA Prize. Waiting for the Barbarians. Love that. He is a professor of general literature at the University of Cape Town, and since then, he's also won the Nobel Prize for Literature. It's a short book, 184 pages. It is rather harrowing because he is not equipped to deal with the world that he's in, and he just wants to be left alone, to really follow his existence as a hermit. He wants to live in a cave. Several times in the novel, he talks about, this is a huge country. There must be a place for everyone who can't fit in. There must be a place for all of us to go to some remote corner, plant our seeds, raise our garden, and to be left alone, not to be involved in this civil war, not to have to participate in this world that I don't care for. Leave me out of everything so that I can do only the basic things I need to do to remain alive. Is it spiritual like this? Is there a philosophy of like complete Spartan? Is that a philosophy just to, to go away and to be a hermit, to really put your soul under the microscope and with zero distractions at all, to transcend hunger? Your stomach and your body just become used to this state of starvation. Not a particularly happy book, but it is a novel by J.M. Coetzee, and J.M. Coetzee is one of the greatest living writers today. If you're a fan of Cormac McCarthy and that very Spartan style of writing where it's compelling because the sentences are so sharp and they're so vivid and the action just follows and follows and follows without any meandering, no time is lost with these unnecessary dialogue, no time is lost with these little meandering paragraphs. It's just the story, bare, Spartan, and brief. 184 pages. That is a short novel. You can sink your teeth into it and read it more than once and see if you can get something more out of it. I think you really can. If you looked at that more carefully, and maybe if you did a bit of examining, what was happening in South Africa, what was the basis of the civil war? Because to me, South Africa is a mystery. Like the entire continent of Africa is a mystery. But it does give me a bit of feeling that I have a slightly greater appreciation for the South African character because I've read the book from their premier novelist. That's all I have to say about this one. It's a tricky book because if I knew more about South Africa, I think I would have a lot more to say. But as it is, there's a man, he's slow, he has a hair lip, he is beset by trouble, and he just wants to get away from everything. But he's not even allowed to do that. Oh, wait a minute. I can't give it away, but yeah, something happens in the end. Thank you for watching. Take care.
Located on deck 5. A crew member may ask you to put on a life jacket. Here's how to do it. Press the red button on the bottom buckle and the 2 small black buttons on the top buckle to open. Pull the bottom buckle outward to extend the strap.